Menopause, a word that signifies monumental change, derived from the Greek mens, which means month, and pauses, cessation. It marks the end of a woman's monthly cycle. It's declared complete when menstrual periods stop for one full year, ending a woman's reproductive years. The lead up to this is perimenopause. It brings irregular ovulation, depleting eggs, and a drop in critical hormones, such as estrogen. This plunge in estrogen triggers most menopausal symptoms. Globally, menopause typically arrives around the age of 51, but can occur anytime between the 30s to the mid-50s or later. In India, it often strikes earlier at about 46, likely due to factors like poor nutrition and lower literacy rates. The symptoms are a litany of discomfort: irregular periods, hot flashes, night sweats, mood swings, anxiety, depression, weight gain, and a sluggish metabolism. Nearly half of Indian women report severe symptoms such as scanty bleeding, heavy bleeding, and depression. Every woman's menopause journey, however, is unique. For some, it brings a poignant sense of loss, a feeling of no longer being feminine. For others, it signals liberation and a new chapter of life. The larger narrative is clear. Menopause impacts every facet of a woman's existence. Statistics show 87.7% of women experience symptoms, 71.5% endure mental and physical exhaustion, 56% suffer from joint discomfort, 54% face heart problems. In India, 82% believe menopause affects personal well-being, 74% feel it impacts social life, and 81% assert it affects their work life. Post-menopause, which is following 12 months without a menstrual cycle, brings its own challenges, including increased risks for osteoporosis and heart disease. Despite its profound impact, menopause remains shrouded in silence. A staggering 79% of Indian women are uncomfortable discussing it with family, friends, or colleagues. This silence, coupled with social stigma and lack of awareness, means that half do not seek medical help for menopausal symptoms. Today, we discuss this phase with experts Dr. Asha Dalal and Dr. Bajaj. Welcome to the show.
Menopause is the end of menstruation, not the end of the world.
Hot flashes, night sweats, vaginal dryness, they occur in the first few years of menopause.
Exercise, proper sleep, a positive frame of mind is very, very important.
Estrogen doesn't only, how does it have an effect? It is not, it has both sides. It prevents bone loss, it helps in bone formation, it helps in calcium absorption.
Dr. Dalal, let's start with you. If you could just give us a brief on what exactly is menopause and what are the phases of menopause?
I think, Ekta, you've already discussed the 3 phases of menopause, which is the perimenopause or the premenopause, the menopause, and the postmenopause. So that period, when you start seeing the signs of an estrogen depletion, but not stoppage, that is the perimenopause or the premenopause, and it can vary anything from 3 to 10 years. During this time, you will start having irregular periods, you will start having emotional outbursts, lack of, many people complain of not being able to sleep, mental fog. All these things are possible even before you get the menopause. When you do not get a period for one full year, then you call it a menopause. And the postmenopause. See, I want to explain one thing very clear. Most women will come to you at 65 with a urinary problem and say, "Arey, mera menopause to ho gaya." Menopause ho gaya means your period has stopped for 1 year. But the problems which you will now, they are divided into early menopause, mid, and the later. So initially, whatever symptoms of menopause you have wonderfully enumerated, hot flashes, night sweats, vaginal dryness, they occur in the first few years of menopause. There is a peak and then they may plateau or decrease. But the 10 years after that, you will get urinary symptoms, atrophy occurs. So then you start getting symptoms which may be urgency, frequency, you may complain of prolapse. Then after a few years, now I'm saying 10, but it can be 5 also, it can be 7 also, then you come into the late menopause symptoms, which are osteoporosis and cardiovascular problems.
Okay.
So this is the full spectrum of menopause. Thomas Hardy was right when he said it was the best of times. Of course, it was tale of two cities, but it fits menopause. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times.
Okay, I want to know, why is it the best of times?
So many women, they genuinely, what you said, they experience freedom. See, why are women coming to us seeking help? There are more and more women who are active, healthy, and genuinely want to enjoy life. By that, I don't mean only one aspect of life, everything. And so they come to us. You know, you have an average 30 years after menopause by your statistics. So if you are going to have 30 years and you want to be active and you want to lead a happy life, then you are, liberated now, because period has gone, no problem of pregnancy. It works both ways. I always say half of your stress is because you are at the peak of your career. Your children need your help because they are struggling. Your in-laws and parents need your help because they are at the age where they need you. So you have to multitask. And what happens at menopause is you suddenly find that you are not able to do it as well as you could 5 years ago. You won't say it, but you understand, oh my God, I forgot. I never used to forget. Give yourself a break. You were never 55 before. So, this is when they now know that, okay, I have done my responsibility, now it is a little me time. So it is quite a good time to be in if you have a sorted life.
Okay, but symptoms like you mentioned of estrogen depletion or reduction can start and go on from 3 to 10 years.
So 3 years to 7 years is usually, you see, they will be just things like, they are not only estrogen, it's hormonal imbalance.
So when does it start typically?
About 3 years before menopause, usually. Okay. In some women, it can be more. You have irregular periods. See, that is the commonest complaint that women will come to you with. They rarely say they are depressed, but there's nothing wrong in coming to see a doctor if you have a menstrual problem. Then they will tell you when you are with them that, no, I do feel depressed, I don't get sleep, my whole body is aching, keeping relations is becoming a nightmare. So, it is, they feel once they are comfortable with you, then they are more open about their other symptoms. But the menstrual symptoms, little bit of moodiness, that the family will tell you, my God, she's terrible, and don't tell her. Now, see, it is true, no? You will get mood swings, and you get these few symptoms, inability to sleep properly, little bit of depression also some people do get.
Okay, well, all right. Dr. Bajaj, one of the stages which is very important, and I'm going to backtrack a little bit, is perimenopause. At what age does one probably experience perimenopause, and what are the symptoms, Dr. Bajaj?
See, perimenopause can begin as early as 30 to 35 years of age, or it can begin, it is usually 3 to 4, maybe 5 to 10 years also, but 3 to 4 years before actual menopause. So it is usually marked by irregularity in her periods. It could be scanty, it could be delayed, it could be frequent, it could be heavy, and it could be erratic. One is that. And then people usually connect hot flushes and all to menopause. So this can begin even now because the estrogen hormones are decreasing. And then a lot of other symptoms of menopause also come at that time. But we should not ignore these symptoms. Even अरे ये तो होता ही है इस टाइम पे, सबको होता है. The in-laws, mother-in-law will tell her मुझे भी हुआ था and all that. But if it is heavy, if it is frequent, she must visit the doctor.
So what are the tests that women need to probably undertake when they are approaching perimenopause, physical as well as maybe blood tests? What would you recommend?
See, blood tests in general, like with the whole body checkup, a lot of people, especially if they got a family history, will have this blood pressure, diabetes, and all those will be first diagnosed in a blood test. And the symptoms appear very much later. Then if there's a lipid profile is changing, so they can be started on statins now so that the cholesterol does not collect on their arteries, sorry. And then they have lesser chances of heart issues later on. Then the bone density is very important, because a lot of times the density decreases. It's like a pillar without the concrete inside. So old ladies, especially if they're very frail, if they just fall in the toilet also, the bones break like twigs. That's because the bone depletion. So they will have to get this calcium and iron, or maybe start calcium at 35 years of age and continue for a long time. And then those specific to gynae is, like I told you, mammography or ultrasound. If they are younger than 40, it should be ultrasound of the breast. Or sometimes on the mammography, what happens is they say that the breast tissue is very dense and they cannot see it. Then we have to send them for ultrasound breast. Then the internal examination by the gynecologist. The pap smear, a better form of pap smear is LBC, liquid-based cytology, and HPV
Okay.
vaccination. That has,
Okay.
testing and an ultrasound lower abdomen.
The most common symptoms of menopause, Dr. Dalal.
If you ask me which is the first symptom when they, as soon as they are menopausal, they are hot flashes, night sweats, irritability, severe vaginal dryness, lack of being able to sleep. Then of course you have mental fog, bloating, instability, all this is there. But what bothers them really is these things: hot flashes, night sweats, mood swings and vaginal dryness.
Okay, and the severity differs.
That is different. Some people just sail through it. You see, Japanese women hardly complain. And all over the world, women are all the time complaining about
to do with lifestyle as well.
Absolutely. But these are the common symptoms which most women go through. How bad they are, how long they are, as I told you, they increase, they last for 3 to 4 years, maybe less, maybe more, then they plateau. Okay. So you get used to it at the end of a certain period.
Okay. Well, Dr. Bajaj, lifestyle, we just mentioned that briefly. What is the best way, or what would you recommend when it comes to managing menopause symptoms and a lifestyle which could help aid that?
See, lifestyle, like for any person, balanced, nutritious diet, proper exercises. Just recently, I read an article that women who overdo the exercises also have more hot flashes, just yesterday, day before. But that also should be average. Exercise, proper sleep, a positive frame of mind is very, very important. And then you should have a social circle. Be it a religious group, maybe you go to mandir, gurdwara, or maybe you sit and gossip with your friends, even if you're berating your daughter-in-law or something, at least you're venting out, and you're talking with, you're not isolated. Thirdly, whatever thing you had given up in life for bringing up your children, your family, looking after your in-laws, your husband and all that, you can take up that hobby again. Your painting, your gardening, you can travel, you should try something new. In fact, I've written a small poem, if we can read it out, for the mantra for the menopausal.
Okay.
Menopause is the end of menstruation, not the end of the world. It's just another milestone in your life, my dear girl. The flame of life still burns bright. So eat right, sleep tight, exercise light. Relaxation, breathing, meditation and yoga, ये सब भी तुमको करना होगा. Keep old friends but learn things new to make life retain its interest in you. Grow a garden, paint, travel abroad, and for the gift of life, thank the Lord. Love and make love freely with passion. It is said that regular intercourse also decreases the dryness, if it's possible. Love and make love freely with passion, for at no age does pleasure go out of fashion. Though, for health checkups, you must go yearly to catch, to control, and cure disease early. Symptoms, however small, should not be ignored, for if caught in time, even cancer is cured. What makes life worth its while is your attitude, your positivity, your sense of gratitude. Wisdom and experience are the gifts of age. Let them guide you and yours at every stage. But the greatest gift of them all, that even the joys of youth undid, is the unconditional attachment of your grandkids. So count your blessings, live without regret, for this is the best that life can get.
Okay, all right. Brilliant, Dr. Bajaj. Well, that definitely sums up exactly what one should approach menopause with. But I'm just going to take that question up with Dr. Dalal that, one of the things that you did mention was depression. So what are the implications of mental health when it comes to menopause? When do you see a psychiatrist? Do you need to see a psychiatrist? How do you manage it?
You know, she put it right. Your 7 best friends genuinely are sunlight, laughter, good diet, exercise, friends, sleep, and vitamin D. That sums up everything. You do feel it is not depression, it can be depression, it can be a little anxiety. A lot of it, if your family, your friends you have whom you can talk to, whose support you can get. See, the minute you understand I am not alone, this too shall pass. Somebody else is also suffering, half your problems get over. What happens is when you are at a top post and you find you are not able to cope because of so many pressures, sometimes there is an element of depression which cannot be helped by your co-workers, your colleagues, your friends, your relatives. Then it is time to go and see a mental health person, understanding that this is not the regular depression or what we are. This is a phase in my life, like a postpartum depression. Okay. If you go in time, it is nipped in the bud. They help you, you take treatment for some time, you are back to normal. Same way in menopause. Sometimes even just talking to a health professional who will tell you, no, this is something which is temporary. This is what you need to do. It is not always medicine. It may be just counseling, it may be, but when you find that it is bothering you, it is coming to your mind all the time, your sleep is going because of that, you are not concentrating on your work, then it is definitely time. If you don't have any good friend or family whom you can go to a mental health professional.
Okay, all right. Well, we do have a lot more questions. We'll be back in just a bit. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Well, we are in discussion with Dr. Dalal as well as Dr. Bajaj on the topic of menopause. Well, Dr. Dalal, I'm going to touch upon the topic of hormone replacement therapy now. Give us a sense in terms of who is eligible for it and what are the risks of HRT?
See, today we don't call it HRT, it is menopausal hormonal therapy to remove the stigma.
Okay.
So, it is there for people who have severe vasomotor symptoms, hot flashes, night sweats, vaginal dryness. If you are low risk, you do not have a family history of a breast cancer, ovarian cancer or any DVT and venous thromboembolism and things like that which are risk factors. If you have a sonography which is normal, your endometrial thickness is below 4 millimeters, your ovaries are normal, you don't have any pathology which can go bad because of your estrogen, your breast examination, your mammography is normal. I know that one more test which is always done at menopause is your DEXA. Now it is very important at that time because if this DEXA scan is already showing an osteopenia or a osteoporosis at the start of menopause, these are the women who will definitely also be benefited. Okay. So when I am saying that it is for vasomotor symptoms, yes. So the mantra today is you give as less as possible for as long as possible, as she needs, not possible. We used to believe that if you give the smallest dose for at least the smallest amount of time, which was around 5 to 10 years, the benefits lasted for a long time. Today the belief is that you give the least possible dose for as long as she needs. You are nobody to judge. The rule is she has to follow rightly, that annual screening has to be done to make sure that there is nothing happening in your uterus, your breast or anything. Second thing is, you don't always have to take oral. It can be local, it can be dermal, it can be in any way, that there are many forms of estrogen to be given. Whenever the uterus is there, you have to understand, you have to be given progesterone in some form, whether it is an oral progesterone which is given, whether you have had a Mirena inserted or whatever. It cannot be unopposed estrogen. It has to be given with progesterone, whether it's a low dose daily, 14 days in the month. There are various protocols and there are various estrogen preparations that are available. If you want, this will look after your hot flashes, it will look after your vaginal dryness, but if you genuinely want it to benefit in your osteoporosis, it will benefit for your cardiovascular protection as well as osteoporosis if it is begun as soon after menopause. You know, within 10 years of menopause, if you have started it, then it is going to benefit you. You cannot say, I am 60 years old, 10 years menopausal, now I have osteoporosis and now give me estrogen. That is not the first choice at that age.
Okay.
So, if you start early for a particular symptom, monitor, then only it is not a bad word.
All right. Dr. Bajaj, what if somebody is not eligible for HRT? What would you recommend to them then?
First of all the lifestyle changes, like I told you. Then there are alternatives like phytoestrogens. You know, like Dr. Dalal was saying, these Japanese do not have, Koreans don't even have a word for hot flashes because the diet is so rich in soya. So soya is a good source of phytoestrogen. She can take that, omega-3, evening primrose oil. And if you divert yourself and you're attentive, I mean, do the other things. And then there should be some support from your family, at your workplace also.
All right. Breast cancer, cardiovascular diseases, or maybe even other cancers, as well as osteoporosis. What are the chances of it increasing post-menopause?
Let's put the cancer apart. Osteoporosis and cardiovascular disease is a given. Every woman who, after menopause, your estrogen goes, if your estrogen is not there, your cardio protection as well as your bone protection goes away. Estrogen has these two effects. As far as the bone is concerned, 100% your bone is starting to be resorbed. Up to 10% of the bone goes in the first, say, 5 to 10 years, which is a given. So, you know that once you are menopausal, you are going to have these two. Now, cancer is not related to menopause.
Okay.
It is an age-related thing. In many cases, you know, you find that the elderly women do get some cancer or the other. You may be having a genetic predisposition, you may be having some risk factors which you are, you know, having, that is why you are going to get this. See, one thing I want to tell you is the number one risk factor today is obesity. As she very rightly said, even postmenopausal bleeding, endometrial thickness, where is the estrogen coming from? Most of the times it is obesity.
Okay.
So that's why I urge women, start walking. We are not telling you to spend for gyms, and you can do that if you want to, wonderful, but at least start walking. It will prevent osteoporosis, it will prevent so many, you know, instability, because your muscle strength improves. So osteoporosis and cardiovascular disease, 110% will occur after menopause. So we have to do. Estrogen doesn't only, you know, how does it have an effect? It is not, it has both sides. It prevents bone loss, it helps in bone formation, it helps in calcium absorption. You know, it prevents calcium excretion. I am very layman's term. And it directly has an effect on the bone. So imagine, if that has gone, you have lost that protection.
Okay. Okay. All right. Dr. Bajaj as well as Dr. Dalal, it's been a pleasure. We have a lot more to discover within this topic, but thank you very much for joining in and speaking with us today. Thanks very much.
Thank you for inviting us.